Hello guys, welcome back again. In this video or series of videos, we will look at building WebSockets in ASP.NET Core. WebSockets is a protocol that enables two-way persistent communication channel over TCP connections. It's used in apps that benefit from fast real-time communication, such as charts, dashboard, and game apps. So in this example, we will try to build a real-time application, a chat application, just to illustrate the power of WebSockets and how they all work or come up together. So rather than just talking too much, I'll just briefly describe what we will need in terms of achieving what we are about to do now. We will need an ASP.NET Core 1.1 or later. Any OS that supports ASP.NET Core, Windows 8, Windows Server, Linux, Mac OS. If the app runs on Windows with iOS, you need Windows 8, Windows Server 2012 or later, and WebSockets must be enabled. So, rather than just talking too much there, we just get on straight. So as you can see, I've got a new project dialog open. So we're just gonna add a new ASP.NET Core project. So I'm just gonna call it YouTube.sockets. So we will get the ASP.NET dialog pops up here, as you can see. So basically, we're going to use the .NET Core and then the 2.1 version. We will select the empty just to create an empty project. So we wait for the projects to be created. So while everything is working out, I'm gonna pause it. Okay, so basically, before we go on, you could just ask yourself, why do you want to use the WebSockets? I mean, in my own personal opinion, WebSockets works directly with the socket connection. So to achieve the best possible performance in terms of real-time application, I would personally recommend the WebSockets, especially if you're building like a web-based game. You would want to be transacting your data through that TCP channel. So rather than just talking too much, we just get on coding. So basically, we're gonna build a chatting application. So I'm just gonna wait a little bit because it seems everything is just running a little bit slow here. So okay, so now we're gonna add two folders. So we're just gonna add our first folder. So we're gonna call this sockets manager. We add another one. And we add another folder, and this one we just call it handlers. And that's just about it for the folders. So inside the socket managers, we're gonna add a couple of classes. So the first one that we will add is just we're gonna add a new class. And we call it connection manager. So now we've got our class created. This is what we would do inside. First, we're going to add this field. It's a private concurrency. Concurrency dictionary. Concurrent dictionary, yeah? And we're going to put a string and a WebSocket. So we're going to have to reference the WebSocket. So here we can just call it the connections. So we just have the new instance of it. We create a new instance of it. So first, you create a method, a public method that returns a WebSocket. And we're gonna call it get sockets by ID, and this will be string ID, and we will return connections dot first or default x dot key is the same as the ID dot value. So as you can see, this is what we've got here so far. Okay, I think I've got the value wrong. So that should be fine. So the next bit is, of course, we create some more methods. So this one will be, it's a public concurrent dictionary, and it's a string WebSocket get all connections so we're going to return the connections. So as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. So the next bit is we create some more methods here. This method will return a string, and it's called get ID, and we pass the WebSocket, and we say connections we say return connections dot first dot default p dot Okay, so p dot value is same as socket. I mean, sorry, not p, it's x instead. Dot key. So that's what we're gonna do or send from here. So the next bit is a public async task remove socket async. So we pass the string ID. So we could say connections dot try remove. Okay, so the connections dot try remove. So we pass the ID, and then the out variable will be our socket, and then we await socket dot close async. So we pass in web socket close status dot normal closure. Then we can just pass in this message socket connection closed. And then of course cancellation token. Cancellation token dot none. So that's it for this side. So the next bit of course is we have this method. It's a private string get connection ID, and we return GUID dot new GUID dot string, and then we format it, remove the hyphens from it. So as you can see, it's looking very pretty simple. So the next bit of course is so here there's one more thing we have to do. We add one more method. It's a public void add socket. So it's a WebSocket socket. So here we can say connections dot triad and get connection ID, then the socket. So as you can see, it's a pretty simple stuff. So the next bit is of course we're just gonna scroll up here and then collapse this bit here we're going to add another method here, I mean another class. So it's a public class, and this will be socket handler. So as you can see, the class has got 3s, so we're just gonna sort that out. So here, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna move socket handler to socket handler.cs. So we move socket handler to socket handler.cs. So yeah, that's what we want to do. So we bang on with a socket handler. So basically, we're gonna add a public connection manager, call it connections, and we get it as a get setter here, and then we pass it through so inside our constructor here, we're just gonna pass this connection manager connections. So basically we set the value here, connections is equal to, and the little connections. So basically we remove the key, then we're certainly good to go. So you're just gonna put our break here, then we start by adding our methods here. First of all, so basically our handler, we're gonna make it an abstract, so it's an abstract class. So we have a method here which is virtual, and it's an async task. We call it unconnected. So the unconnected will take in a WebSocket. And this is our socket. So basically we just resolve this bit here. So here, the unconnected bit here, we're gonna put a wait task dot run. Then we could say connections dot add sockets. So we add our socket. So that's what we've got for here. So the next bit, of course, we just move on. It's a public virtual async task on disconnected. So pass in our WebSocket. So we await connection dot remove socket async. So we say connections dot get ID So we pass in our socket. So that's it. So we just move on to the next bit, which is it's a public async task send message WebSocket. This will be socket string. This will be message. So we check if socket dot state is the same as open. I mean, it's not the same as open. I'll just make the negation. It's not open. You just return nothing. Then we await sockets socket.send async. So this is what we're gonna pass in. First is a new array segment. That takes him back. So inside it is encoding dot ace dot get bytes. So we pass in our message, and then our offset 0, and then our buffer, that's message dot length, and then we come up out here, then we say WebSocket WebSocket message type, you set it to test, and then our cancellation token dot none cancellation token dot none. So as you can see, we've got an error here, so I'm just gonna sort that one out. So before the cancellation token, we need to put one more here. This will be true. We set this bit to true, and we should be good to go. So if we look here, the boolean, the end of message. So as you can see, it's pretty simple. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna leave it here for now, so that we continue straight on the next part. Basically, I mean, I'll try and make a very short part, so up to at least part 3 to 5. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please make sure you do.